Good evening, everybody. My name is Yulia Stadnichuk. I'm the representative of the International Public Movement Politics 2.0. And here I welcome everybody here on our English language channel to discuss the political landscape in Russia, to present to you our outlook at the landscape, because we believe that the outlook of our movement actually differs from what it is widely known and widely discussed as Russian political situation. I am the representative of the International Public Movements Politics 2.0, and we always view all the things and we view all the situations from the point of view of Politics 2.0. And we are very practical about political issues because we actually regard things as things that have to do with us. We, the citizens, are really concerned by what is happening in our state. We do know that we are the ones to take care of this state because nobody actually wants to take care of it and nobody is interested to rule the state the way so that we would benefit. And that's exactly what's supposed by the Constitution of the Russian Federation, that we, the citizens, are the source of power, and actually the state exists for our benefit. So we understand now that we are the only ones who wanted to work properly, and that is why we take things very seriously and we regard them, really practically from the point of view from what we can do, how we can influence the situation, how the situation influences us. Our movement started from the live book of monk Athanasius from Holy Mount Athos, and mostly the vast majority of us are Orthodox Christians, but we are lay people, and we do take part in political activity of our state, but we do it according to the constitution and current laws. We have elections coming this September here in Russia, and we've seen articles, a column published by Alexei Navalny recently in a number of international media outlets. Thus, we would like to present how we see the political situation in Russia right now, to probably give you some different outlook and different understanding of how things really are. First of all, we would like to stress that actually it is widely discussed that there is democratic or liberal opposition in Russia. Some political leaders are presented to the international media or to the international public as if they were kind of oppositional leaders. They leave Russia. They say that they suffer some political persecution. They are afraid to face some criminal accusations and so on. And it looks as if they are really opposition. They are really somehow opposed to the ruling regime, and they are leaders of some democratic parts of the society. If we look at the situation from inside of Russia, and let me just stress it, make it clear, we are no officials. The members of the movements are no officials. We are just law-abiding citizens. We just lead our normal lives as citizens, and we see the situation how it looks from the point of view of a citizen living in his hometown and trying to somehow make ends meet and to cope with the things coming here right now. So actually what the situation looks like right now is that there is no political opposition really. The accusations these politicians face mostly have to do with their real crimes committed on kind of in economic sphere or some other sphere. But so these are not political they are not political accusations. They are not so-called political items of our law. These are mostly like normal crimes. And the general political situation with all those parties, with all those candidates running for the elections, is actually looks very well orchestrated from the Kremlin. And all the parties, even if they call themselves oppositional, democratic, or whatsoever, they are all orchestrated from the Kremlin. And none of the candidates running for the elections right now, we're speaking about elections to the State Duma, to the state parliaments, because we have elections like regional elections right now, but we are speaking about federal elections, elections to the state parliaments. None of the candidate can actually become a candidate to the elections, run for the elections without the support from the administration, from the Kremlin. In fact, the law right now sets very serious obstacles to just the citizen to run for elections. The conditions stated in the law that one should collect signatures from the people actually make it totally impossible for a person to run for elections without financial or administrative support. And all the procedures stipulated in the law, like checking the signatures, counting the signatures, and preparing all those signature lists, make it totally impossible for just a citizen to run for the elections. The only case why a person can run for elections and make it, somehow successful, is when a person has financial support and has administrative support. Thus, there is no single independent candidate right now. All of the parties who take part in these elections also pass these administrative obstacles set by the Kremlin administration, which means they do have administrative support. What it looks from inside right now, because quite a lot of discussion, political discussion, takes place um, in Telegram channels. So somehow the political discussion moved there from official media. It is actually quite openly discussed that the numbers, how many seats in the parliament should be occupied by some specific party, is programmed by the administration, by the Kremlin administration. Now, there is actually some sort of political fight among these parties, among these candidates, but it has nothing to do with democracy. It has nothing to do with the people, with the voters, with those who actually go and vote. We actually know, and if you look at our Central Election Committee, ruled by Ella Pamfilova, you will, and if you look at their activities, their comments, and how people pursue them somehow, you will probably see that nobody actually believes, and nobody thinks that this election committee is going. What actually everybody thinks is that the election committee will count the numbers the way the Kremlin tells them to. So what we see right now is the totally orchestrated electoral campaign, which has nothing to do with voters. None of the candidates actually really speaks to voters and actually gets some information and gets some feedback from the voters and provides some feedback to the voters. There is one more very important point, which has to do with this legislation. There is not a single article, not a single law in Russia right now, which would make it's not a single law in Russia right now, which would make it obligatory for the deputy to report to the citizens, to the voters, or to follow the voters' will. Despite the fact that it is stipulated in the constitution that the people is a source of power, and actually these are the people who execute the authority via state governmental bodies, and State Duma is one of the state governmental bodies, actually the representative governmental body. There is not a single law which would somehow make these mechanics happen. And thus, those who are elected, so-called elected, but this has nothing to do with the election actually, they have no whatsoever connection to the voters, and they just go to Duma and they just do whatever they like, and nobody can ask them to report and to tell what they are doing there and why. So right now, the political landscape looks like well-orchestrated campaign by the Kremlin administration, and the Kremlin administration has been published in an article a couple of years ago by the head of our constitutional court, that they see that the ideal situation is where there are two parties. One party is like Единая Россия or United Russia, and the other party is the image is floaty. Surprisingly, because we do not have those too many views. So one of the parties is Единая Россия, and the other party is like all of the rest of the opposition united together. And this is something which the political situation is moving towards right now. There is one more thing which we have to consider while speaking about Russian political landscape. You cannot discuss United Russia and other political parties like, political parties. Because United Russia has nothing to do, it's not similar in any way to the other parties. United Russia more looks like a Masonic lodge for the officials, because all those who are considered workers depending on the state, so to call, those who depend on the state budget, those who get their salaries from the state budget, they are all connected to the United Russia Party, because not only they are members, they may be not members, they may be just working for some state governmental authorities or something, but they know that quite a lot of things which have to do with their job, which have to do with their responsibilities, are decided within the, so to speak, within meetings or negotiations or something. We have problems with our connection in our English language stream with four viewers. Well, this is surprising, really. We normally have problems with our stream in Russian language, but we normally have more viewers than we have now. And if we are going to have problems with the connection, it's really, impressive. But still, let me continue, please. So, United Russia is not a party. It's not like people united on the basis of some ideology, of some idea that they share. The only idea they share is that they get their salary from the budget, and they need to keep working for the budget to get their salary further on. Considering the situation Russia is in, especially in the regions, which is, deeply critical and people living very poor. The salary received by this wage, the salary received by a worker working for some state organization, may be crucial for the family, or even not for one family, for several families. And thus, all these people who depend on the budget, who get their salaries from the state organizations, the state organizations may be like municipal authorities, city authorities, regional authorities, state-run enterprises, schools, medical organizations, institutions, universities, some higher education establishments. So these kind of organizations, there are lots of them, really. Or there may be also organizations which are, so to speak, private. They're considered to be private. They're private, but they get their contracts from the state. They provide some services or some products for the state organizations, and thus they also depend on the state budget. And all the people who work for these companies, who work for these enterprises, who work for these organizations, they do depend on the budget. They actually know, and they know this perfectly well. Russia, United Russia, loses its position, will lose their jobs. So, and it has nothing to do with the ideology they think is better for the country. It has to do with the this United Russia Party. The people who currently depend on the state budget, and they want to keep getting their money from the state. So all of the other parties, spoiling the voice, surprisingly, all of the other parties, they have nothing to do with this. They are really more like ideological organizations. They are people united by some ideas or some kind of some views or how they think things should be organized, should be like run, organized, or something. And thus, it cannot be considered like a competition, a political competition of somebody against United Russia. United Russia is just it's not a party, it's not a political party united by some ideology. It's really a Masonic lodge for the officials, for the state budget. And we know perfectly well that this United Russia party is going to get the majority of the places in the parliament. We know this perfectly well. We know that some parties, who especially like Novые Люди, New People Party, they support the things that is done by the presidents and the administration, and thus they, even if they get some places in the parliament, they will follow the same path the current Russian administration is following. And we know perfectly well that all of the other parties are doing, they're working on losing as much supporters as it is possible. Like Communist Party of the Russian Federation is trying its best to lose its supporters. Yabloko, Apple Party, they are also doing its best to lose their supporters. It has to do with some kind of general idea of disappointment. What is also crucial to understand about Russian politics is that if you somehow think that the Russian voters, Russian people, do love Putin, or they think that what Putin is doing is the best thing, and they really trust it, and they really trust these ideas, and they really support the ideas presented by Putin and his team, you should realize that it's not true. It's not that people are supporting Putin and they really trust and really do and really think this is the way things should be done. What is really happening is just people are looking around and see that nobody is better, that the others are even worse. And that is why they either vote for Putin or they just let Putin win without taking part in this. They just kind of step aside and think like, okay, let it happen without me, because there is nothing better. I do not see any other possible way to somehow rule my country. That is what is happening. People do not trust this united Russia. People do not trust Putin, Medvedev, or some other. Maybe people do have some warm feelings towards Shoigu, and that's another situation. But actually, it's not a real support. It's not like supporting and following ideas. Seen this column and the recent interview given by Alexei Navalny, and published by Alexei Navalny, we again have our proud live streaming. We've seen these columns by Alexei Navalny and his interview, and there is one thing that should understand. I made a couple of videos, and you can see them here in our channel about Alexei. And the fact is that Alexei works in close cooperation with Kremlin administration, and actually Alexei doesn't support any idea which is doing. All of the is actually the ideas which are followed by the current Kremlin administration. So, in all this, people do not. Alexei has been poisoned. His conditions is at no danger, at no threat at all. His health is at no threat at all. Yeah, this is our translation. That's surprising. Not translation, but spoil our stream. Surprising, really. Well, if we have some crucial problems here, I guess we'll restream. We'll go stream. We'll go live again, and if we still have problems, then we will have our stream further on our Instagram channel. I will place the link to our Instagram channel. Elena, could you please place a link here to our Instagram channel? Because if we have problems here, we'll go to Instagram. Yes, this seems to be a very important topic, but so we'll continue. So the conditions that Alexei Navalny enjoys, and actually, if you are not specially prepared and specially trained democratic and liberal speakers, but if you ask some people who have been to prison or who have some idea what prison is like, you will hear the like nothing that any person can enjoy in Russia. It's not just impossible, because these are the prison is much worse than what Alexei Navalny is in right now. But there is another problem actually, because we imposed by the court, and it happened back in 2018. Part of the federal security, so somewhere probably in Russia, or probably from his from the prison. Surprisingly, why? And we've stopped hearing things actually written. Let us before the meeting of President Putin with President Biden puts the